This was my best market ever. Today, I wanted to chat with you about the Lunar New Year, let's try that again, Lunar New Year Market that I had yesterday in Raleigh, North Carolina. With Triangle Pop-Up is the organizer for this event. And I couldn't even process how yesterday went after the event, throughout the event. I mean, I couldn't process it throughout the event because it was so crazy busy. I barely got my tent set up and organized, and people were already shopping and stepping in and checking out the festival, to where I had like a moment to take video footage of even what my market booth setup looked like. So yeah, it was insanity. I remember at one point it had just been so busy, back-to-back sales. And I looked at my watch and was like, what time is it? Like, am I gonna have enough inventory for all of this? It's just, stuff was flying off the shelves. There were constantly crowds in my booth. And I looked at my watch and it was 12:30. The market started at 11. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have enough stuff for today. So I have to accept I am just one person. There's only so much that I can make with my two hands. And yeah, it was just a phenomenal experience, and I'm so happy that I had it. But today I'm going to talk about what made the market so great, hands down. I mean, besides the organizers and the location, it was like a perfect storm. The celebration of the Lunar New Year, they had so many fun activities. There were dragon dancers, there were comedians, musicians, just a full schedule of activities for the whole family. So it brought out lots of people in the community. And there was a vast assortment of food trucks. I think there were at least 6. Honestly, I didn't even have time to leave my booth to look at the other vendors aside from when we were first starting to set up, because it was just nonstop. There was one point, my sister was in my booth kind of helping me man it, making sure like I could get food at some point, because I was out there for the 5 hours of the market being live, as well as my setup and breakdown time. So she was like, I'll stay in the booth, you know, go wander. And I went to the booth kitty corner for me, and I turned around, there were already people like crowding back in my booth again, so I had to go back in there. But yeah, I know there were at least 5 or 6 food truck vendors, one of which was the Filipino food truck. So they had lumpia and pancit and all my like favorites. So my sister went out and got food for me. She was in line for an hour. She was gone. So again, it was very helpful because I could never have left my booth to get food. And you know, I was hearing from other people that the food trucks all had crazy lines, that everything was like selling out. The Boba truck packed up and left early because they ran out of inventory. It was just so awesome to see such a huge turnout for this community and this event. So today we're going to talk about what I sold, what I brought, what I sold, kind of how I prepared for this, and talk some numbers about my totals. So let's jump right in. Good morning. We are on our way to the Lunar New Year Market. Truck is full, back is loaded up. My husband,
that's me,
is helping me to set up, and then he's gonna head back home to hang out with the kids for a bit, and then come back a little bit later for them to hang out and see the festival too. So ready for a busy day. Check back in soon. All right, so got to this market maybe 10 minutes after the setup started. I think they let people start to come in at 9 o'clock to start setting up. And I get nervous before any big event, like a market. When I did Irish dance and Scottish dance competitions, I can't sleep. So I was up super early and realized I had just a lot of downtime after we loaded up the truck. And I was like, let me just crochet some things to get out some last minute items. So I had made a video the day before of, I think I made 192. That's too much. 92 items in preparation for this market. And I was like, let's get to 100. So between the night before and getting to the market, I think I did hit 100. I made I made an owl, because my white owls always sell and I can never keep them in stock. That was again true today or yesterday. And then I made some swing buddies, or at least like the starting of swing buddies. I made a couple of them, but then I also made the buddies themselves, and I just had to make the swings, which I have that pattern memorized. So I had those so that if there was like lulls or moments throughout the market, I could build those. So I had about 8 more pieces that I was able to bring to put out pretty much as soon as I got to the market. So got to the market, was setting up. It was just on one street within this like new kind of shopping restaurant district community. And so I don't know how many vendors there were. I'd say maybe 25 to 30. And from what I can tell, there wasn't duplication of event or vendor types. So there was another crochet vendor from what I understand, but it was more decorative crochet, like very beautiful pieces. I saw people with bags of like flower bouquets and things coming into the booth. So I was the only crochet vendor of my kind at the market. But the people next to me, there was ceramics on one side, jewelry on the other, very different type of jewelry across the way. Like, just, it didn't seem like there was a lot of overlap. So it was pretty chaotic just because it was a street where they were going to close off road traffic, and we had tents lining both sides, and that was fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with the chaos. It was just, I had to get into my head to like set up the booth, because of course I did not have time to do my test run of what I wanted my layout to look like. I swear I'm going to do that for my market this weekend, because I have a very different market space set up, but I wasn't able to do that for my 10 by 10 tent. I just knew that I was going to go in with kind of my usual U format. So with setting that up, I also had a very like curated list of items that I was bringing this time, the items that I was preparing. I made lots of the little like dim sum and sushi valentines. So I had those individually packed. All right, so I had sushi and dim sum individually packed. I had like Sushi Cats, I had some Totoros, and tons of mushy pops, like baskets of them. I did a few new things with my booth setup in terms of displays. So I got these gold baskets, I think at Michael's, and they're really cute. They're just part of, honestly, I think they're part of the Lunar New Year collection that they had, because they have a small collection of that. They're these little gold wire baskets, and they are perfect for displaying my little like mushy pops and stuff. And I set up my items more so in like general categories of themes, but also like $5 items, $6 items, $7 to $10 items, when it was more of a, not generic, but like not necessarily mermaids and fantasy and all of that. So I think that really helped, especially, you know, when parents are like, you can get something from this area when kids come shopping in the booth. So that was definitely something I'm going to do going forward. I also got a new display, like a spinning rack for my swing buddies, and I just wasn't satisfied with the like bin that I had that had a little pole at the top. I didn't feel like it fully represented what was within the bin of swing buddies. Like, you couldn't really see what was there unless it was one of the items on display. The circulating rack was great. It like caught people's eye, drew them in. I had a little wire frame. I'm going to show videos of all of this throughout this, but with my loaf cats and like a couple attention grabbing items, the Valentine sushi that I have, sushi, Valentine shrimp. Oh my gosh. Like I was so tired last night. I went to bed super early and then I got up early this morning because I was like, I have to start crocheting for next weekend. So anyways, just a very different kind of display layout than I've had previously, trying to mix in some of the bigger items amongst the lower dollar items. And I think that was a good strategy. Generally, if people had a budget to stick to, they were able to find that quite easily. And then there were just attention grabbing items like my Link and my Alphaba. Those are more expensive and more detailed, but you know, people would see them and say, oh my gosh, look at that, and they were instantly in the booth. So let's go ahead and talk about the breakdown of what I brought and what sold. This is in the order of items sold from lowest to highest, but not necessarily in any other order beyond that. So when I sold just one of an item, it's just going to be bundled in with some other things. So first item sold, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail of all the items unless it has some sort of backstory behind it. But the Plague Doctor that I had for $40, that wasn't the first item sold, but that was, I brought one, I sold one. That one actually did have a funny story. Dad came in carrying his little like 1-year-old in his arms, and he was holding like a little swing buddy that's 13 bucks. And he's like, hey bud, we're gonna get this. And his 1-year-old saw the Plague Doctor and was like, that. And then I was like, you want that? And he's like, that. And he's like, you want the swing? He's like, that. He's like, all right, I'm getting him the Plague Doctor. So there's a 1-year-old out there with a cute Plague Doctor stuffy. And the Plague Doctor was getting tons of love up until that point. Like, people came in and were just like, this is the cutest thing. I love it. This is so funny, whatever. But like, no one had bought it. This was it. This 1-year-old got the Plague Doctor. I had the Chunky Otter. I think it's a free pattern. I'll share a list of all the patterns I used in the description below. I brought 3 of those. I sold 1. I have a whole list of my sales reports to go through. The Chunky Sloth, it's like a little bitty sloth pattern, just smaller than the normal larger size that I want to sell, but it's really cute. I had brought 4 of those and I sold 1. Flower sprites, they're like little garden sprites. I've shared them on my Instagram page. They're very pretty. They have like hand-painted eyes and just really cute and fun for spring. Brought 3 of those, sold 1. Love Bugs. I think this is a free pattern that just came out. If there is a price to it, it's like $1 or $2. I brought 5 of those and I sold 1. I sold them for $10 each, which they're not huge, but they're bigger than my Junimos, and I sell my Junimos for $8. So I sold them for $10. I think it's just going to be a limited thing anyways for Valentine's Day or Easter, but they're cute. I wasn't surprised that just one of them sold, but yeah. My Lunar Baby, that is the cute like moon doll that I made from Therapy on My Hook, is the pattern designer. And I think that one was $35. I brought 1, sold 1, and it was just a little boy that was just so smitten with it. It was very sweet. I brought the shrimp, 2 of them. I sold 1 of them. I brought 1 large snake. I meant to bring more. I just didn't have time to make them. And that was actually the first item that sold. And it was from the neighboring vendor. Came over and was like, I want that snake. I have a snake at home. I love snakes. I want it. Yeah, and that being said, because this is the year of the snake, that was like just a big theme throughout the whole weekend and festival. So I actually had a promo on my small snakes because I had quite a few of them. $12 each or 2 for $20. And surprisingly, didn't sell a bunch of the 2 for $20, but sold a bunch of individual ones. I did sell a bunch of sushi, but we'll get to that. And that was the other deal I had. So I had 1 Totoro boba. It was a really cute little like boba cup with Totoro as like the kind of lid of it. So I had 1, sold that 1. Avocado Buddy, it's like a stress ball. had one, sold one. I usually have 2 at each market. I just haven't had time to replenish them because I was making so many things in preparation for this market. I had 1 sun fidget ball. It was kind of small. Sold that. I had 1 hippo. Sold that. Meant to bring 2. The lady that bought it was like gushing about her love for hippos. I had 1 Junimo holding a heart and sold that. There were a lot of people who loved Stardew Valley. I'm sorry if you hear, my dog is dreaming next to me, and so she's making little like squeaks and snorts in her sleep. I had a gargoyle plushie. It was one of my larger items. I think it was $50. Sold that. Goblin plushie, same pattern. Overall, they just sought for 2 variations. Sold that, and I think they both sold pretty much back to back. Not the same person or group, but like someone bought the goblin and 5 minutes later someone bought the gargoyle. I brought 4 Nessie plushies and I sold 1. Baby dragons, the fuzzy baby dragon I made that was originally in an egg. I sold that one separately because that one was a labor of love, because it's the Feels Like Bliss yarn, which it does. It feels like bliss, but it's the devil to work with, and you have to like feel your stitches. You can't really see your stitches because it's fuzzy. So that one sold without an egg, but I had the 2 other 3D eggs that I brought with me, and I had dragons for those, and those both sold, but we'll get to that. My large sitting Highland cow snuggly, I usually have at least 1 at every market, if not 2, and it's one of my biggest items, and it's $50. It's not like super labor and yarn intensive. It just is one of my larger items. It takes a little time. Had 1, sold the 1. The swings in general just sold like crazy. It was one of the first things I was pretty much wiped out of. I had 1 frog on a swing, sold that. I had 1 polar bear on a swing and sold that. 2 axolotls on swings, sold both. The Demogorgon baby, or baby Demogorgon, had 2, sold 2. I had 2 little Totoros, not like chibi Totoros, but like a little doll. Sold both of those. I had 4 axolotl babies. I can't remember who the pattern designer is. Again, I'll drop the details below, but it's like an axolotl, but it looks like a little doll almost. So I brought 4, I sold 2, and I donated 1 to the raffle that the organizer was doing. So I had 1 left. Chunky bumblebees, I brought 3, one of which was a red and pink one for Valentine's Day. I sold the 2 regular ones. They were kind of displayed weird too, just based on how the booth was originally set up. So once they were brought down onto a different shelf to like fill space, that's when people saw them and bought them. I had 3 Lucky Cat Bobas, and I sold 2 of them. I had 2 fidget mushroom frogs. It's like a mushroom that has a frog sitting on top that like pops up and down. Sold both of those. I had 4 splash axolotls, same thing. It's like a water spray and there's an axolotl in it that like pops in and out. I had 4 of those, sold 2 of them. The baby dragon eggs, I had 2, sold 2. One of them I literally was sewing together at the start of the market as like people were starting to shop, and put it out and sold it. That was kind of a theme of the day. Swing buddies, gnomes, I brought 6, I sold 2. That's just been my least popular of the swing buddies. It's really cute, and it's the most complicated of the items beyond the axolotl to make for swing buddies, but it's just not like something that people gravitate to as quickly as they have the other items. So the little hatching chicken egg from Oak and Marlowe, I brought 6 of them, I sold 3. Chubby owls, I brought 4, one of which I was sewing up at the market and finished it, and then a group of sisters came over, and one of them had seen the white owl that I had out. The eldest had something else completely, and then the youngest was like, I want a white owl, and I was like, well, I have this like speckled white one. She was like, I want that one. So I literally like stuffed the ends in and handed it to her and gave her an adoption certificate, and she was thrilled. So stuff was literally like flying off the shelves. Sushi Cat, I had 3 Sushi Cats and sold all 3 of them. I had 3 Moon Fidgets, sold all 3 of them. I had 4 Hoya, like potted Hoya plants that like pop in and out. I sold 3 of them. I had 3 capybaras, sold all of them. Here's more. Mushroom house pops. It's like the little mushy pop, but it's a house. Had 4, sold 4. Little itty bitty axolotls. I think they're like 12 bucks. They're just very small. Had 4, sold 4. I had 4 of the little white chibi Totoros. Had 4, sold 4. Sold all of my Sirens, 4 of them. Swings with ducks. I brought 1 complete. I brought 1 to finish complete, like attached to the swing. And I made 2 more on the market, sold all of them. So sold 4 of them total. One of them actually was a customer that came up and was like, do you still have any more like ducks on swings? I said, no, I sold them all. And they're like, can you make one? I said, I mean, it's like been busy, but I can try like maybe 30 minutes just because I don't know if I'll have customers that like I can't just sit and crochet. So they waited around and I was able to make another one in 15 minutes. They timed me. So sold 4 of those. Same with Kirby's. I brought 1 Kirby on a swing complete, had 1 to put on a swing, and then I made 2 more while I was there, sold all 4 of those. So I definitely, if you got downtime at a market and you can bring a project bag, bringing like the little projects that don't require a lot of yarn so it doesn't take up a ton of space, this was great for me. I had 5 cheeky turtles, sold all 5 of them. I had 8 Nigiri, I can't ever say it, sushi rolls. I sold 5 of them. I did the sushi at $5 each, and it had like a little Valentine kind of card theme with it. And if you bought 2, it was 2 for $8. So quite a few people took advantage of that. I had 7 small dragons. I sold 5 of them. I had 7 pieces of maki sushi in the bundle of buy 2 for $8. Sold 6 of those. I had 7 loaf kittens. It's not the largest or the smallest size of Annie Caraway pattern. It's the medium one, and that's kind of the one I've stuck with now. It's tried and true. People really like it. I sell them for $16, and I advertise an adoption certificate that I've like made up in Canva and print out. And that really, I feel like, seals the deal. There's so many people who are like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I'll give you an adoption certificate when you buy it. They're like, okay. So the adoption certificate is really a solid strategy for that one, at least for me. So I had 7, sold 7. Junimos, I had an assortment of colors. I brought 10. I sold 7 of them. The ones that were left were green and yellow, I think. So red, pink, purple, and at least 1 blue sold. Penguins on swings, I brought 7, sold 7. Little bows, the dumplings, that was in my sushi pack. I brought 8, sold 8. Chunky chickens, I completely sold out of my chickens. First time ever I've sold out of them completely. They're always like the top item in terms of volume that sells at my market, but this time I actually sold out of every single one of them. Brought 11, sold 11. Mushroom pops, the little fidget mushroom pops, I sell them $6 each and just have a little basket of them. I brought 13, sold all 13, and sold all 13 pretty early. And then finally snakes, the small ones, I brought 18, sold 15, and I think only 2 sold as part of the like buy 2 for 20. So most people just did the full price on it. So that was just the rundown of all of the items. It really was looking really sparse at the end. I know there were quite a few things at the beginning that of the list that I shared that it sounded like, oh, you brought a lot and only 1 sold. But those were less of the items kind of on theme for this. It was just stuff that I had. Oh, I also had 2 horses that did not sell. And the horses are kind of hit or miss. I feel like they did really well in the fall. They might be something I list on Etsy. They're adorable and they get a lot of attention. They're just a larger item that I think it's usually like someone that's really into horses wants them. So yeah, that was the item breakdown. Now let's get into the numbers themselves. The booth fee for my booth was $165. I think that's the most I've paid for a booth ever at this point. But I have seen Triangle Pop-Ups events in general. For me, they've been hard to get into. I came into this very late though last year, so you know, it could have been people who applied way early on got in. So 165 was the booth fee. There was a optional $35 fee to do a marketing highlight where they were going to advertise on social media and everything. I went ahead and did that, and it was worth it for me. I got quite a bit of people following in advance of the market. Every time that they posted something, I would see an uptick in my follower count, as well as I got messages before the market saying, hey, I saw your picture of, you know, your crochet flowers. Are you going to have those at the market? So it was worth it for me to have the $35 marketing highlight. And again, I also donated a $25 baby axolotl. So $200 of the like fees before the event actually, you know, paid out, and then a donation of a $25 item for the raffle. So those were the fees that I spent beyond the food for the market that I ate there, which was so worth it. Now for the big reveal. Again, this was the best market I've ever had. Like, it's blown every other market out of the water. I can't even imagine how I'm going to set my expectations for future markets, because I have to be realistic. Like, this is just going to be a rare occurrence, but it was phenomenal. And I'm so fortunate that, like, all of my hard work over the last 2 weeks of just hustling to get as much done as possible, as well as everything beyond that in preparing for this. But my total sales were $2,355 from this market, 5 hours. I can't even. And I didn't look at my sales at all throughout the day. Like, sometimes I will check in on it and I feel like, oh, things are going great. And I look, I'm like, oh, okay, I thought I had done more than that. This time I was like, I'm not gonna look, I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I always have like an ABC goal, and my goals, I've had to adjust them because, you know, I think that you can get really jaded watching videos of people who are sharing their market success stories, and they're like, I made $700, so on and so forth. And it just depends on where you are, what season is it, what's going on, what the weather was like. We got a beautiful day yesterday after a whole night of rain, so everything just really worked out in our favor yesterday. But sold 2,355. Of that, 246 was cash and 2,109 was card. There were $64.90 in fees. So for Square, I log everything through Square Cash too, because they don't charge their fee for cash transactions, but for me, it helps me also keep track of like sales tax and everything, because sales tax is built into the price of my items. So it's just easier for me. So yeah, that meant my net total with the fees then removed was $2,290. I just still cannot get over that. And also, I have a market this upcoming weekend, and I have like a lot of inventory catch up to do. So last night I gave myself a break. I got home, relaxed, hung out with the family. When the kids went to bed, I did some safety eye painting, especially because I need more safety eyes for a few items that I need to make for this weekend. My dog's on the move. She's got to get comfortable. So I did that, and then I started to crochet like a chicken, and I just was so tired I went to bed. So today I have done a bunch of chicken bodies. I'm doing it like a batch production line. So I've done a bunch of chicken bodies. I'm going with Stardew Valley colors because my market coming up this weekend is a gaming market, whether that be board game, video game, all of the above. So I just was like, let me get some Stardew Valley chickens. And I think after that, I'm going to work on some Junimos, going with the Stardew Valley theme. But I have a big list of things I need to now restock in preparation for the market next weekend. And yeah, I mean, I'm just on cloud nine after this market. I'm so motivated and inspired. And again, I know that this is going to be rare, few and far between that I have a market like this. But after, you know, I had a couple of really slow markets at the end of the year. It was really cold, and I feel like people were just done with their holiday shopping. And, you know, you're sitting out there and wondering, like, are people interested in this? Is this a really saturated market already? Because usually there's a lot of other crochet vendors. Should I be focusing on Etsy? Just the market experience itself was so fun yesterday and just so exciting. So yeah, I'm really thankful and fortunate for that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this, I would love if you would like and subscribe to follow future videos that I do. I keep talking about it. I am gonna do my top 5 free patterns that are my market bestsellers. I just have to make some of them again because I sold out of all of them. And then I will have my market prep for next week or next weekend's market. So everything I'm gonna make this week for that. And then a market recap for next weekend's market, which is the gaming market that's gonna be in Durham, North Carolina. So thanks for sticking around, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.